Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. In the first story, we'll tell you how our OP got revenge on his abuser in the most unusual way. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Good luck buying new clothes. I lived with my son's father and his family for a while after my son was born. He and I have broken up since, thank God. It was supposed to be mutually beneficial, but turned into me and my son's grandfather being the only people working and paying bills in the house. My ex's mother hated me. She didn't really have a reason to, she just hated any woman that she thought showed her up, which wasn't really hard since her main job was holding down the couch most of the day to make sure it didn't run away. I turned a blind eye to all the crap she talked about me and blamed me for, but one day, she took it too far. It was my mom's 60th birthday. Her friends planned to take her out to eat, then to a neighborhood bar for a couple of drinks. They invited me along. The morning of her birthday, I put on some nicer makeup and clothes than I usually do for work. It was a nicer restaurant, and I wanted to look appropriate. I was gone for about 2 hours. When I came back home, I walked past her, and she called me a whore. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. I was pissed. I quietly plotted my revenge, pretended everything was fine for about 2 weeks until I had a chance to put my plan into place. She had all-day plans on a Saturday, and for once I was all alone in the house. She was a larger woman, so she really didn't have too many clothes that actually fit and that she would wear. I went into her closet. I even took photos of where the clothes were hung and how they were placed. Then I took all those clothes and put them in the washer on the sanitized setting. If you don't know, the sanitized setting is water that gets up to 220 degrees, which will shrink just about anything. I made sure to dry them on the hottest setting too, then I carefully hung them back exactly as they were, using my photos for guidance. The next day was glorious. She went to get dressed and absolutely nothing fit. She had a meltdown in her room, calling her family, bawling about how she didn't understand how she could have gained so much weight in a week. She refused to have a scale in the house. She just went by how her clothes fit. The next few days of watching her pull and tug at her clothes always brought a smile to my face. I don't know if she ever bought new clothes. I broke up with her son shortly after and never looked back. And our second story. Trying to intimidate me by telling me to clock out and go home? No problem. For almost 20 years, I was in the service industry. It helped in a lot of ways, but probably ended up sucking me into that lifestyle for too long. A large portion of my serving/bartending career was at a chain restaurant. Think a house of steak that isn't in front. I'd been with this establishment for around 5 years while going through college and starting a master's. I was a server/bartender/trainer and had been approached multiple times about MIT, manager in training, but I politely declined. All of this to say, I felt like I had a pretty good standing in history with the company. Well, one day a guy, let's call him Mark, who I personally disliked, started going through MIT. Our mutual dislike started before my first day at work even, but to be concise, he was indirectly involved in a small confrontation between his friend, me, and the girl his friend was talking to. It's actually a pretty funny story in itself. If this blows up or people are interested, I'll tell it. Mark had a massive superiority, or is it inferiority complex, probably rooted in his height. Not trying to be a jerk or insensitive, but it's my best guess. Although we maintained civility at work, I'm pretty sure we were both aware that we didn't like each other. For several weeks, probably at least 2 months, bartenders weren't making money. For context, the bar area had around 9 booths arranged around the U-shaped bar in the center, but bartenders weren't allowed to take those tables. Only guests seated at the bar. After several weeks of walking out with $40 to $50, including our bar tip out from servers on a weekend shift, we all began pleading with management to help us. I know I and the others asked for them to let us have at least a couple tables in the bar lounge. We're talking 10 feet from the bar. Given that bartending was something you almost always had to work up to, start at server, do well, you have a shot of moving up, we all felt like we had demonstrated the ability to handle the tables and not allow drink times or bar guests to suffer, especially as the actual bar was pretty dead most weekends, seeing as we were making so little. So we were all offended to some degree, feeling like it was a double slap in the face of, we don't care about you not making money, and we don't trust you to handle lounge tables. Morale was low. One day, after we voiced our concerns to deaf ears, when the bar was of course slow, Mark basically orders me to do something like count inventory or some other busy work. At the time, I was batching cocktails and doing bar upkeep, partially because when we got it done, there was a decent chance one of us would be cut. Being cut meant 1, person cut isn't wasting time for little pay, 2, person staying makes more money. So I kind of clipped back something like, I'm not doing that, I'm busy doing things at the bar. If you want it done, you should do it. At this point, I'm pissed, because from my perspective, we've been pleading with them to help us. They told us to get effed. Now you're wasting our time even more with stuff that isn't really our job responsibility, all while you literally stroll around the restaurant doing nothing. Mark, trying to flex his new MIT position, says, if you're going to have that attitude, you can clock out and go home. He clearly wasn't expecting me to simply go, okay, and immediately clock out. I turned to the other bartender, told them I was being sent home, and I'm sorry. Now, what Mark and the rest of the management didn't know was that by pure chance, I had ran into a former bartender that left months ago when things had started going south. She was at her new serving job and told me she was making great money. So the very next day, I applied and used her as a referral. I got the job and immediately put in my 2 weeks at the House of Steak. My proprietor sat me down at my next shift and basically attempted to make amends and ask if I was leaving because of Mark. I said no, I was leaving because we weren't making money and y'all refused to help us, which is true. The Mark stuff was annoying, but I've never been a person unable to work with those I don't personally like. Well, when the rest of the bartending staff heard about me leaving, they were curious about my new job. I told them the truth. I was making great money and they're hiring. Within 2 weeks, 6 of my former bartending crew left and got hired at the new job. Within another couple weeks, a few more joined. The House of Steak lost about 70% of their bartending crew and a few servers in the space of a month. They were definitely not pleased, mostly at my new manager, as that's just something you don't do. But not me. And wouldn't you know it, a month later, bartenders are allowed to take lounge tables. And our last story. Make me do the bulk of the work? Okay, have fun. I'm what you call a mature student. I'm a mother, and this class was 85% fresh out of high school students. This story takes place in a class that's required in order to get a degree. At the beginning of the semester, my instructor assigns partners for several large assignments due throughout the semester. This was new to me since my other classes never did this, but this professor was new and I figured it was a way to save time. At first, my partner Sarah, not real name, was great in the first project. She did her half and gave it to me in a timely manner so I could add her information to mine. I'm kind of a perfectionist and she didn't mind. I thought we were good, but by midway through the term I kept getting messages she was busy or didn't have enough time to complete her part. I'm pretty laid back, so while it did irritate me, I figured I could help her and did most of her half. Side note, I'm friends with the ladies in her dorm and one roommate is my cousin. I went out for a drink with some of them one night, and the drunker they got, the more they started talking about Sarah and being annoyed with her. Apparently, Sarah was going out to a party almost every night, and when she returned was loud. She never cleaned up after herself and often brought back random people. My cousin at this point said that she was bragging about getting a free ride in most of her classes that required partner work. All she had to do was come up with a poor excuse that was all woe is me, and her partners fell for it. My cousin pitied them and didn't think it was fair. She didn't know we were partners in this class. This pissed me off, but I didn't say anything. Third major project came, and sure enough, she made excuses. I gave her a lot of ways to make up time, adjusting my schedule to hers, willing to meet at the library in the evenings and weekends, offering tips for time management, and nope, still with excuses. Third project received great marks, too. Okay, to revenge. The final project is worth 45% of the grade. It makes up for a final exam and pretty much a make-or-break assignment for grades. I was done with her. A week before it was due, I still gave her the benefit of the doubt, and she pretty much shot me down. Told me I was such a big help to a fresh student, and she'll do what she can to help, but please don't expect a miracle. By this time, I pretty much had the project done by me 100%. I scheduled a meeting with the professor with documents to show her of how she never helped. I gave her copies of my email exchanges, text messages, and her admitting she didn't do anything to contribute. But if I was so kind enough to add her name to the assignment because I am her partner after all, I told the professor that I've been carrying the bulk of the work on projects, and while I understood Sarah is adjusting to university life, I don't find it fair if she got marks on this final project when I've done it myself. In short, I was allowed to hand it in under myself, and Sarah received an email stating she had a week to hand in the assignment on her own. I blocked her number and left email message unopened. Also, I informed her roommates to keep documented evidence on her skirting her responsibilities to hand in to the office and informed her other partners on her behavior and how she treated me. In the end, she failed the assignment and pretty much the class, was kicked out of her dorm, surprise inspection by RA found pills, I didn't know she did, and failed another major assignment in another course. Her partner's an acquaintance of mine. She was later kicked out in the following semester for handing in plagiarized work. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.